The warning ignored. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called with unprecedented urgency. In the crystalline chambers orbiting the ancient star of Kepler 442, representatives from 63 civilizations gathered in their environmental suits and atmospheric bubbles. The topic of discussion was singular and controversial: humanity's sudden declaration of a forbidden zone spanning 12 star systems. Consul Prime Xerion floated in the center of the assembly, his translucent body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that conveyed both authority and irritation. The Etherians had governed the Consul for 12,000 years, and never in their history had a species so young dared to make such demands. Humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel merely 4 centuries ago, barely a heartbeat in cosmic terms. The human ambassador's message played on repeat across the chamber's holographic displays. A middle-aged woman with graying hair and tired eyes spoke with unwavering determination. Her name was Admiral Rachel Morrison, and her words carried a weight that seemed disproportionate to humanity's standing in the galaxy. The message was simple yet absolute. Any vessel entering the designated Terran protection zone would be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. No explanations were offered. No negotiations would be entertained. Ambassador Threktal of the Skarathi Empire rose from his position, his chitinous exoskeleton clicking with indignation. The Skarathi had conquered 1,000 worlds before humans had even discovered fire. His multiple eyes focused on the central podium as he spoke through his translator. The humans presume too much. They claim territory that belongs to no single species. Ancient trade routes pass through those systems. Mining rights have been established for millennia. What gives these newcomers the right to deny us passage? Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly like waves across a cosmic ocean. The Menthari delegation, beings of pure energy contained within mechanical shells, flickered in patterns that indicated their support. The Vorthak Confederacy, militaristic and proud, rattled their ceremonial weapons against their armor in a show of unified displeasure. Yet not all voices joined the chorus of outrage. In the upper tiers of the assembly, Ambassador Kriya of the Luminous Collective remained notably silent. Her species had traded with humanity for decades, exchanging technology for cultural artifacts. She had learned to read human behavior patterns, to understand the subtle nuances of their communication. Something about Admiral Morrison's message troubled her deeply. It wasn't arrogance she detected in the human's voice, but something far more disturbing: desperation, masked by duty. Consul Prime Xerion extended his tendrils, calling for order. The assembly quieted, though tension remained thick in the recycled atmosphere. Fellow representatives, we face an unprecedented situation. The humans have drawn a line in the stars and dared us not to cross it. This cannot stand. The freedom of navigation has been sacred since the first Consul Charter. We must investigate these claims and restore order to the affected systems. The vote was called, and the result was overwhelming. 58 civilizations voted to send an investigation fleet. 3 abstained, including the Luminous Collective. 2 voted against, the mysterious Void Touched, who rarely participated in consul affairs, and surprisingly, the Ancient Preservers, whose crystal forms had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Preparations began immediately. The consul assembled its most impressive diplomatic fleet, a collection of vessels that represented the pinnacle of 63 civilizations' achievements. The flagship, Cosmic Harmony, stretched 15 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull adorned with the artistic contributions of member species. It was escorted by warships from the Skarathi Empire, science vessels from the Menthari, and swift scouts from the Avarian Federation. 3 days into their journey, as the fleet approached the boundary of the Terran Protection Zone, they received another transmission. This time it wasn't Admiral Morrison. A younger human appeared on their screens, his face drawn with exhaustion, his uniform bearing the insignia of something called the Sentinel Corps. Captain James Chen spoke with barely controlled emotion. Please, I'm begging you to reconsider. This isn't about territory or resources. We're not trying to insult the consul or claim superiority. We're trying to protect you all. There are things in this universe that should remain undisturbed, doors that should never be opened. We learned this lesson the hard way. Please don't make us enforce the boundary. Turn back while you still can. Ambassador Threktal laughed, a sound like grinding metal. More human dramatics. They speak of dangers but offer no proof. They claim to protect us while threatening us with force. This is nothing but a bluff, an attempt to hide something valuable they've discovered. The fleet continued its approach. As they neared the invisible boundary of the Terran protection zone, their sensors began detecting anomalies. Gravitational fluctuations that didn't match any known phenomena. Energy signatures that seemed to exist in spectrums their instruments couldn't properly measure. Space itself seemed different here, as if reality had been stretched thin. Consul Prime Xerion studied the readings with growing unease. The Etherians had evolved beyond the need for intuition, but something primal within his consciousness stirred, an ancient warning perhaps encoded in the very fabric of his being. Yet he had the weight of the consul's decision behind him. He could not show weakness before the assembly. The cosmic harmony crossed the boundary first, its massive bulk sliding through the invisible barrier like a ship entering fog. For a moment nothing happened. Then every system on every ship in the fleet screamed warnings simultaneously. Not external warnings from human defenses, but internal alerts as their sensors detected something that shouldn't exist. Space around them began to shimmer and warp. What appeared to be stars in the distance suddenly moved, rearranging themselves into patterns that hurt to perceive. The temperature readings fluctuated wildly, showing absolute zero and stellar core temperatures existing in the same point simultaneously. Their navigation systems couldn't agree on their position, each one showing different coordinates that changed with every update. Ambassador Kria's voice cut through the chaos, her bioluminescent form pulsing with urgency. Something is wrong with space itself here. These readings indicate dimensional instability on a scale I've never seen. We need to leave immediately. But Consul Prime Xerion, driven by pride and the need to maintain authority, ordered the fleet forward. Whatever the humans are hiding, we will uncover it. All ships maintain formation and proceed to the nearest star system. We will have answers. As the fleet pushed deeper into the Terran protection zone, the anomalies intensified. Crew members reported seeing shadows that moved independently of their sources. Whispers in languages that predated speech echoed through empty corridors. The ship's AI systems began displaying error messages in scripts that no translator could decipher. Then, on the primary view screen of the Cosmic Harmony, something appeared that made even the ancient preservers recoil in recognition. A massive structure, clearly artificial but impossibly old, hung in space before them. It was covered in geometries that violated the laws of physics, surfaces that seemed to exist in more dimensions than 3. It pulsed with a dark energy that made looking at it feel like staring into the antithesis of existence itself. The structure was surrounded by human vessels, but not in a formation of ownership or exploration. They were arranged in a perfect containment pattern, their weapons trained not outward but inward toward the structure. Energy fields of incredible complexity linked the human ships, creating what appeared to be a cage of pure force around the ancient artifact. A new transmission came through, this time from Admiral Morrison herself. Her ship, the TDF Vigilant, materialized from subspace directly in front of the consul fleet. The human vessel was unlike anything in their databases, bristling with weapons that seemed designed not for war against other ships, but for something far more fundamental. "You've crossed the line," Admiral Morrison said, her voice heavy with resignation. "Now you've seen it. The thing that should never have been found. The thing we've spent the last 100 years learning to contain. You want to know what we're hiding? We're hiding the end of everything, and we're the only thing standing between it and the rest of the galaxy." Part 2, The Reckoning, 2,000 words. 6 months of eerie silence from human space, strange anomalies appearing in assembly trade routes, the discovery of humanity's true capabilities, the economic collapse beginning to affect major species, the Korvax fleet's failed invasion attempt, Earth's calculated response, and the assembly's shock. The final revelation and humanity's terms for peace part. The provocation. The Meridian 7 station floated in the void between 3 galaxies, a testament to engineering prowess from a dozen different species. Its crystalline corridors stretched for kilometers, housing the chambers where the stellar assembly conducted the business of governing half the known universe. Today, those chambers would witness a decision that would echo through history. Ambassador Sarah Reeves adjusted her simple black uniform as she entered the Grand Forum. Around her, beings of impossible variety filled the ascending tiers of seats. The Korvax delegation dominated the central platform, their bodies a fusion of organic tissue and living metal that shifted and reformed with each movement. Their leader, Supermarch Vazek, stood nearly 4 meters tall, his form radiating an energy field that made nearby electronics flicker. The Thylorians huddled in their environmental suits, their jellyfish-like forms pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that indicated distress. The Grendaki sat motionless, their stone-like bodies showing no emotion despite the gravity of the proceedings. Dozens of other species filled the remaining seats, from the diminutive whisperfolk who communicated through pheromones to the towering celestial wardens, whose bodies were composed of living starlight. Sarah stood alone at the defendant's podium. Earth had only been part of the stellar assembly for 23 years, barely a heartbeat in galactic terms. Most species still viewed humans as primitive newcomers who had stumbled onto faster-than-light travel by accident rather than design. Supremarch Vazek's voice resonated through the chamber, transmitted directly into every being's consciousness through the assembly's neural network. We gather today to address an act of unprecedented aggression. The Thylorian research vessel Luminous Dream was destroyed 17 cycles ago in neutral space. All evidence points to human involvement. Sarah stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. The evidence you speak of is circumstantial at best. A human cargo vessel was in the same sector, yes, but our logs show we were conducting a routine mineral survey. We've provided complete sensor data showing we never even detected the Luminous Dream. The Thylorian representative's patterns flashed angry red. Your data could be fabricated. Our vessel carried 300 researchers. They were studying a phenomenon that could have revolutionized energy production for all species. Now they are gone, and humans were the only ones near enough to be responsible. Being in the vicinity does not make us guilty of murder, Sarah countered. Have you considered that the phenomenon they were studying might have been unstable? That this could have been an accident? Vazek's form shifted, growing larger as his energy field intensified. The Korvax Dominion has conducted our own investigation. We detected residual weapon signatures consistent with human plasma torpedoes. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Plasma torpedoes are used by 47 different species in this assembly. The signature degrades after 48 hours, making precise identification impossible. You know this, Supermarch. What I know, Vazek said, his mental voice carrying undertones of contempt, is that humanity has expanded aggressively since joining the assembly. You've claimed 12 systems in 2 decades. You've refused to share your technology databases. You operate with a secrecy that suggests hostile intent. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Sarah noticed that even species who had been friendly to humanity were avoiding her gaze. The political reality was clear. The Korvax Dominion controlled 60 systems and had been part of the assembly for over 1,000 years. Their word carried weight that humanity's could not match. We've claimed only uninhabited systems, Sarah said. We've followed every protocol, filed every required form. Our technology remains proprietary because that is our right under assembly law. The same right every species here exercises. The Grendaki ambassador spoke, his voice like grinding stone. Rights must be balanced with responsibilities. The evidence, while not conclusive, is troubling. The loss of Thylorian life demands justice. Sarah felt the walls closing in. This wasn't about justice. This was about power. About established civilizations reminding humanity of its place. What exactly are you proposing? Vazek's form solidified into something almost humanoid, a gesture meant to be condescending. The Assembly authorizes the Korvax Dominion to conduct a punitive action against human holdings. Your colony on Epsilon 4 will be placed under Korvax supervision for 1 solar rotation. This will allow us to investigate your activities and ensure you pose no threat to peaceful species. Epsilon 4 has 50,000 colonists, Sarah said, her voice rising. Their families, scientists, miners. You're talking about military occupation of civilians based on accusations you can't prove. The decision has already been discussed among the senior members, Vazek said. The vote is merely a formality. Sarah watched as the vote proceeded exactly as she'd feared. 73 species voted to authorize the Korvax action. Only 12 voted against, all younger species with limited influence. 8 abstained. Earth stood alone. You have 72 hours to evacuate any personnel you wish to protect, Vazek announced. After that, Epsilon 4 falls under Korvax jurisdiction. Sarah activated her quantum communicator, sending an encrypted message to Earth. The response came immediately from President Marcus Webb himself. If they proceed, implement Protocol 7. Make sure everything is recorded. For the next 3 days, Sarah argued, pleaded, and presented evidence. She showed shipping manifests proving the human vessel was carrying only geological survey equipment. She provided testimony from the crew stating they detected no other ships. She even offered to have human personnel submit to neural scanning, though she knew the Korvax would claim the results were tampered with. Nothing mattered. The powerful had made their decision. The Korvax fleet arrived at Epsilon 4 exactly 72 hours after the vote. The colonists had evacuated to underground shelters following emergency protocols. They sent messages of surrender, offering no resistance, asking only for fair treatment. The Korvax ships opened fire anyway. Kinetic bombardment rounds turned the colony's surface to glass. Antimatter charges vaporized the underground shelters. In 17 minutes, 50,000 human beings were reduced to atoms. Men, women, children, all gone. The Korvax claimed they detected weapon signatures from the colony. Everyone knew it was a lie. Nobody challenged it. Sarah stood in the emergency session that followed, her face carved from stone. She waited until Vazek finished his report, until the assembly finished congratulating themselves on teaching humanity a lesson. Then she spoke. You've killed 50,000 innocent people. You did it not because you believed we were guilty, but because you could. Because you wanted to remind us that we're newcomers, that we don't matter, that our lives are worth less than your political games. The chamber was silent. I want you all to remember this moment, Sarah continued. Remember that you had a choice. Remember that you chose cruelty over justice, power over truth. Remember that we came to you in peace, seeking friendship among the stars, and you answered with murder. Vazek's form flickered with amusement. Are you threatening the Stellar Assembly, little human? Sarah smiled, but there was no warmth in it. No, Supreme Arch. I'm delivering a message from Earth. We are recalling all ambassadors, ending all trade agreements, closing all borders. Humanity is withdrawing from the Stellar Assembly effective immediately. You'll be back, Vazek said. Your species is too weak to survive alone. Within a year you'll beg for readmission. Sarah walked toward the exit, stopping at the doorway. Supreme Arch Vazek, there's something you should know about humans. We have a saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. There won't be a second time. The doors closed behind her with finality. The assembly erupted in discussion, most members laughing at humanity's dramatic exit. The Whisper Folk released pheromones indicating amusement. The Celestial Wardens dimmed their light in what passed for laughter among their kind. Only the ancient sage of the Void Walkers, who had remained silent throughout the entire proceedings, spoke with something resembling concern. In all my centuries, I have learned one truth. The most dangerous species are not those who roar their power to the universe. They are those who choose silence after being wronged. Nobody listened. They were too busy dividing up humanity's trade routes among themselves. They should have listened. Humanity returns to the Stellar Assembly as full members, she announced. We will restore the trade routes. We will share our subspace technology. But understand this, we are not your servants, your subjects, or your inferiors. We are your equals, and you will treat us as such. Supreme Arch Vazek, his form diminished and flickering from the long journey home, gave the formal response. The Stellar Assembly acknowledges humanity as equal members, with all rights and privileges thereof. Sarah nodded. Then let's begin again. This time, perhaps we can build something worth preserving. Within hours, the trade routes began reopening. Human engineers worked alongside other species, teaching them the principles of subspace manipulation. It would take generations for any of them to master it the way humans had, but the knowledge was being shared freely. The sage of the Void Walkers approached Sarah after the session. Your species could have conquered us all. Why didn't you? Sarah smiled, this time with genuine warmth. Because conquest would have made us no better than you were. We don't want to rule the galaxy, Sage. We just want to explore it without fear of being murdered for existing. And if we betray you again? Sarah's smile remained, but her eyes grew cold. Then we'll fold space itself around every one of your worlds and leave you in pocket universes where you can contemplate your choices for eternity. But we really hope it doesn't come to that. The sage's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been amusement. I believe, Ambassador Reeves, that humanity will never again be underestimated. As the assembly dispersed, the various species returned to their homes with a new understanding. The humans hadn't just demonstrated advanced technology, They'd shown something far more powerful, the ability to choose mercy when they held all the cards. It was a lesson the galaxy would not forget. Earth's ruthless retaliation had indeed left the Council speechless, but not through violence or conquest. Instead, humanity had done something far more devastating. They'd shown the galaxy exactly how much they'd been contributing all along, and exactly what happened when that contribution was withdrawn. The greatest revenge, it turned out, was simply letting the galaxy see what life was like without humanity's quiet help. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.